Today I am doing the long-awaited update on the Skam remake so you can all just collectively stop bullying me. So in my previous video on this topic, which was a year ago, I talked about the first seasons of the German, Italian, French, and the American remake of Skam. And since then, Skam has got a few new airs, and today I'm gonna talk about all of them. And honestly, the reason why it took me so long to post this video is because I was just so overwhelmed with all of the remakes, and I just couldn't find a way to fit all of my opinions into a video of like an appropriate length. But then I realized the only thing you want from me is the Skam remakes video, so you're just gonna watch it no matter how long it is. And also, if it's longer, I can just put more ads on it. So that's my current state of mind. Greed. And this time I genuinely liked all of the remakes, but I just like them for different reasons, so I'm gonna try to not compare them this time. I ended up comparing every single one of them. So let's begin, because this is gonna be a long fucking video. Also, when have I become Curtis Connor?
Folks.
I'll start with the remake I haven't talked about last time, and that's the Belgian Skam. And during my Skam hiatus, not funny. Belgium actually managed to release 2 seasons, and I have different opinions on these 2 seasons. And then I also have a question for you. Oh my god, this is an interactive video. This feels like a Black Mirror episode. Am I Black Mirror? Like the whole show. Yeah, after this review, I have a question for all of you, and I'm really hoping you will help me. Basically, the first season kind of looked honestly fragmented and just very patchy for me. It just felt like you need to be familiar with the original story in order to watch this remake, because some of the scenes weren't shown in full detail like they were in the original, and they honestly kind of didn't make sense. I'm talking about the scene where they spilled the drink at the first party they were at. In the original I'm a robot. In the original, it was Sana who spilled that drink because those girls were talking shit about Vilda. In this remake, it was, first of all, it was Luca who spilled that drink. I think Yasmina wasn't at the party, which I mean, it's fine, it's whatever. It could have been any girl from the group. But the thing is, they never explained why exactly she did that, so that kind of just remained as like a random thing that happened. When in reality, it was actually one of those scenes in first season where we could actually see that Sana cared about Vilda and considered her a friend. So that's like an example of the thing I'm talking about. Some of the scenes weren't explained in full detail in season 1. I'm still talking about season 1. And it just felt like they filmed this to just get it published as soon as possible while the trend of making these remakes still lasts. And what also bothered me about this first season is most of the scenes that they changed were scenes with Zoe and Sen. And I could just feel that a lot of care and a lot of thought has been put into their relationship from the very first scene of them together. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I mean, I love Noura and William. I enjoyed all of the changes, but just looking from an objective point of view, it kind of felt unfair to Yana, the protagonist of that season. Oh, and also one more thing about season 1. Oh my, I'm still talking about season 1. I also like how they added some completely new scenes, like with Yana and her mom shopping and then seeing Ingrid at the store. Now season 2 is honestly maybe even, I'm gonna try to not compare them this time. In my top 3 Noura seasons so far, I feel like they fixed all of the mistakes they made in season 1, and they just had, like, the whole team behind the show just had a character development as a whole. And I think I like it so much because it's kind of the closest to the original, which contrasts with everything I said about the French remake, the first 2 seasons of the French remake in my previous video. But the difference is that the Belgian remake doesn't have exactly the same lines, and like the characters don't blink at the same time as in the original, which is what they did in the French remake. Maybe it's because this one is also kind of geographically the closest to the Scandinavian cinema, so that's why it reminds me so much, because they have similar cinematic techniques. But just like even the color grading reminds me of the original. But I still don't consider it plagiarism because they told the story from the original in their own way, but it just reminds me of the original in like the visual aspect of it. But now the thing I loved the most is how they addressed not only the topic that is sexual abuse, but they also showed, I guess, like steps to follow if someone, God forbid, finds themselves in that situation. And I always hated the second half of season 2 for that reason specifically, because they pretty much just show you what you shouldn't do. I mean, every Noura showers the second she comes home, and she doesn't get checked for STDs, she doesn't go to the police, and I completely understand why they did that, because the point of this show is to be realistic, and she's like a 16-year-old, you know, she's traumatized and she's scared. And as much as I like when TV shows are realistic and are showing flawed characters, characters, this is one situation I would prefer for the character to be just perfect, because after all, there are so many young viewers watching the show who are maybe not informed enough on the topic. So I would just prefer for them to be more educational, and that's exactly what Zoe was. She knew what to do in that situation, and I just wish all the other Nuras were like Zoe in that moment, just for the sake of the younger audience who maybe doesn't know what's the right thing to do in those situations. And I also really liked how they didn't just use the assault as a way to make some drama in their relationship and then just make the whole question about whether or not they will get back together. And yes, we did have a fight between them in parallel with the assault storyline, just as in other remakes, but they didn't let go of the talk about the assault. Like with the girls asking Zoe if she called the doctor to check up on the results from tests, and with Senna actually taking her to the police. And I also really like Senna. Okay, now here comes the Senna talk. I also really like his character. He not only looks good, for everything he does, there's an explanation. Even for the fight, we could clearly see that Luca was getting beaten up, and that's when he took that bottle and smashed it on the guy's head. It's not like in the original when William was the one who started the fight, which honestly to this day it's still funny to me because Thomas Hayes is like massive, like he's 8 feet tall, you know. I don't even know how much is 8 feet. Why did I just use feet? I'm in Europe and we use something called the metric system. Like, you are so tall, what are you scared of? Seriously. But I'm just saying, they really worked on Senna's character development, not related to the fight scene, but in general. Like, even by the end of season 1, you could see that he's changing, and not only doing it to get in Zoe's pants. He's like honestly partially doing it to get in her pants, but he's also doing it because he realized he was in the wrong and he's trying to fix his behavior to be a better person. So all in all, the first season was a good remake, but it felt like they were just still getting the hang of things. But the second season was so much better, and it just proved that this remake should be talked about more, and it's very underrated. But now, here comes my question. My boy Senna is a mysterious guy, because from the second I saw him, he reminded me of someone, and that was in last October, and I still don't know who he reminds me of. Honestly, I've checked out his account so many times that I can just go on an Instagram search and type in only the letter S, and his account is the first one that pops up. I've seen this guy, like I've seen him already. Who are you? I mean, he looks good, you know? He looks really good, but who does he look like? But I don't know if he reminds me of like a celebrity or someone I know in real life, you know? That's the big problem. So honestly, at this point, you're my last resort. Just please leave me comments under this video. Who does this guy remind you of? Also, if you're someone I know in real life and you look like him, please tell me who does he... Actually, that's not gonna work because no one I know in real life watches my videos. But still, if you're someone I know in real life and you look like him, let me know it's you. Also, if you're someone I know personally and you look like him, forget the part where I call him hot. I am digging my own grave. The Dutch Skam, the show of 2012 Tumblr girls' wet dreams. And listen, I'm gonna allow myself to become the prisoner of the 21st century, and I'm gonna call this remake aesthetically pleasing. I mean, it just is, you know? They took some time to not only find good actors and include some good and creative and original scenes, but they also made sure to make the show as visually appealing as possible. Like, it looks like one of those movies that girls who claim they were born in the wrong generation like, you know? Even those still shots are so well planned and they just give you this complete and like pleasing feeling. Everything is so well planned out and organized that even if you don't notice the symmetry in those shots, you still get that same pleasing feeling that I'm talking about, because nothing catches your eye in a bad way. Everything just seems in its place, but it's so aesthetically pleasing, like from the soundtrack to their fashion style to like all the scenes. Like, honestly, if this show existed when I was 14, this would be the only thing I would reblog on Tumblr. Also, Liv and Noah, honestly, the chemistry between the whole cast, it just looks like I'm watching a group of friends hang out. There's no tension, nothing seems fake or forced. All of the reactions, just all of the scenes look like they're coming to them naturally, you know? Like when Issa went and got her nose pierced. Like, it just felt like I'm watching a vlog of a group of friends, not a TV show. And they also understood what the show is about. I really liked in season 1 where they had a talk with Issa. Basically, they asked Issa to introduce herself and she said something on the line of like, I have a hot boyfriend. But then the girls asked her, yeah, but who are you? Which is the whole point of season 1, when Eva just doesn't know who she is. And in season 1, we're just following her growth in realizing who exactly she is, and that she needs to find herself and not be as dependent on other people, especially her boyfriend. And in In season 2, I love how Liv has a subplot with her music, so she's not just purely defined by her relationship with Noah. So that really made the second season her season, you know? It was Liv's season, it wasn't Liv and Noah's season. And Noah was the only one honest about his brother from the very beginning. Like, he was very straightforward. He told Liv that his brother cannot be trusted. Also, in their first fight, Noah actually had some really good arguments. I don't understand how could have Liv been so angry at him in his eyes. But what I didn't like from season 2 were the scenes following the assault. Oh, they made me so mad. I don't know, I just in the end got a feeling like they made Liv the guilty one, like the one who needs to fight for their relationship, when in reality she was the victim of the assault. She has nothing to apologize for. And he told her, like, I told you not to go to him, thanks for the advice. What, so you told her not to go to him? She didn't listen to you, so she had to be ready for the consequences, or I don't know. And I got so much secondhand embarrassment from that wedding dress fiasco, because everything made it seem like she was begging for his forgiveness. Like, she was apologizing for getting assaulted. She was like all in her wedding dress, like, hi Noah, sorry I got filmed naked by your brother, but you know, I'm here, I'm wearing a wedding dress because we joked once that we were gonna get married, so basically I'm just begging for your love now. Please forgive me that I got sexually assaulted. I don't know, it was just so bizarre to me and rushed. I really didn't like how they made that scene, and both of them just seemed very out of character. It didn't seem like them at all. Something I liked about the characters is that they all had different personalities from the original characters. I mean, starting with Noah, he's like a soft boy, but he's a William as well. All of the characters are just new people, but they just share the most important and crucial personality trait with the original character. Yeah, overall, this is a fantastic remake. Minus the scene with the wedding dress. I just really didn't like it. It just sends such a wrong message. So if you haven't seen this remake, I recommend it, but don't watch the wedding dress scene because you will get mad. Out of all remakes, Skam Austin put the most attention to the period following the assault and the effect the assault has on the victim. Also, the actors are even better than in season 1. Except for Megan. I can't believe I'm gonna talk about Megan again. To the girl playing Megan, I am so sorry, but I really don't like her character. Like, she looks like she doesn't even know where she is, you know? She looks like she has no idea what's going on. Like, her mouth is moving, but you look inside her eyes and you can't find her there.
Yes, definitely. Bold and beef?
Oh, thanks.
They took a longer time showing Grace after what happened, but they didn't overdo it. The scenes were very long, but I feel like it's because of the lack of the background music that those scenes seemed less like a TV show and more like they're happening in real life. It seemed more say it with me, guys. It seemed more realistic. If I could get commission for every time I mentioned the word realistic in this video, I think I would be able to retire by the end of it. But I mean, I can't say anything else because that's what it was, you know? It was just realistic. I mean, if I see Grace laying in her bed and the only sound I can hear is the sound of her bed sheets when she moves, that makes it more focused on the pain she's feeling, and it just makes it more focused on her emotions, and it makes it easier for me as a viewer to feel for her, because if they use like a sad song in the background of those scenes, it will make it seem more like they're artificially trying to provoke a certain emotion in the audience rather than let us interpret the scene in our own way. This detail this detail will pass unnoticed to any viewer who's just trying to watch a show, but I mean, you all felt the same as me while watching it. I'm just the one providing like theoretical explanation behind it. But I do think that every remake did the same thing and hasn't included background music in those scenes. So I guess this part that I talked about can be applied for all of them, but maybe it's the lack of background music accompanied with longer scenes in Skam Austin that make this remake stand out in my eyes when it comes to those scenes. Also, I've seen many comments under the clips saying that they are trying to drag out the story and that it's getting really repetitive and boring, but I think it's very realistic because again, we're seeing it from her point of view and she's the victim, and you don't get over a traumatic thing that happened in like a matter of just a few days. So I personally think that they did what was expected from them if they wanted to represent this as realistically as possible. And the talk between Grace and Daniel in the end is the best out of all of them. She just said something we have all been thinking since the original season 2 when all this went down and William was suddenly like hurt. I mean, it doesn't get more clear than that. Someone finally gets it. She's not fighting for his trust. She's not begging for his love in a wedding dress, because what happened to her wasn't her fault and she has nothing to be sorry for. And she understands that he's hurt as well, but she has done nothing worth apologizing, and she has done nothing that she should feel guilty for. And she's up to here with everyone's shit, and I always had faith in her and I knew she wouldn't disappoint. And the confrontation scene with Clay, I love how they made her make him admit to her that nothing happened. Oh my god, that was such a good scene. And I gotta say, I liked how Joe gave her kind of a reality check at the end by telling her that she wasn't a good friend to Kelsey, which is something I never even realized was missing in season 2. And Joe had a really good point. Grace is here praising honesty, but she was the one who kept the secret from Kelsey for a year. And Nura was always such a mature character for her age and always looked like she cares about her friends so much. And somehow she never realized that by keeping that secret, she's hurting Vilda more than by telling her. And I'm also really interested to see how they will develop the story with Tyler, because right now they have a really good base, so I'm really interested in seeing his story. But I also want to see Shay's season. I don't know, are they even planning on doing a season 3? Because I haven't seen any news on it, but I also haven't seen any news about it being cancelled, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, before I even start talking about this remake, I just gotta say that I'm probably gonna be very biased when it comes to the Spanish remake. I just have a very soft spot for the Spanish language as a whole, ever since I was like 6 years old and I spent all of my days watching telenovelas. So I'm just so glad I don't have to lie to myself and all of you that I like this remake, because this is an excellent remake. Where do I even begin with this one? They just checked every single requirement for my lecture what makes a remake good. They kept the general storyline, but they completely changed their approach to that story, and sometimes they even added some original scenes, changing the original stories, so sometimes you don't even know where this is going. I also love the relationship between Eva and Lucas. In the original, the relationship between Eva and Isaac never felt like an actual friendship. They were more just like acquaintances. Acquaintances is a word I learned while playing The Sims, so every time I use it, it's just very funny to me. In the original, the whole boy group and the girl group never seemed like they were actual friends. It just seemed like two groups that know each other, because like a couple of individuals from each of the groups, like, well, fuck. And out of the whole group, I only considered Sana and Isaac to be friends. The rest of them just kind of came in the package, which is very realistic. That's how things work in real life. Not everyone is friends with each other. I'm not criticizing anything at all. I'm just like analyzing and comparing the two groups. So by making Eva and Lucas close friends, I just feel like that's a very nice refreshment to an already familiar story. And I also love how you can see that Nora likes Alejandro but doesn't want to admit it, because even though I don't consider their relationship toxic, even in the original, now thanks to the changes, no one can say that their relationship is toxic. And I also like how they managed to work on their relationship, but in the background. Even though you can see that something is going on between them, they still remain the supporting characters. And what can I even say about season 2? It's just so, it's phenomenal. And the acting of the actress who plays Chris, I don't know what her name is, Irene, I think. She's just so natural in what she does, and it doesn't seem scripted, you know, or fake. All the scenes just look like everyday situations, and all of their reactions are just so raw and natural. I mean, in real life, there are no over-the-top expressions. They're also very subtle, just like the reactions of those actors. So that's why it's so easy for you to put yourself into those characters' shoes. And I've also read in the comments of the clips that their portrayal of borderline personality disorder was actually very accurate. There's this one scene where Joanna was biting her thumb, and I've read that that's a technique known to help with panic attacks. So it looks like they've done a lot of research, so I have a lot of respect for that. Also, I love how they presented this group of friends in general. It just looks like they're helping each other and they're making each other be a better person. That was a scene where Chris was talking poor about herself. Basically, she just said how she's not the best person for Joanna, but the girls proved her wrong and they gave her examples when she was there for them, and having all of that support from her friends helped Chris become a better person. And I also love Amira's character. I cannot wait for her season. Just, she's always there for her friends. You can see how much she cares about Chris. Just their friendship in general, just Chris has so much support from her friends. Even when Joanna was in the hospital, when all the girls found out she was in the hospital, they went to Chris to ask what was going on, is she okay? They gave her some gifts. Also, just one more thing, this remake showed me that having subplots with supporting characters within one season is possible without them stealing the show. I mean, I've talked about Nora and Alejandro already, but they also had Amira talk about Ramadan several times and educate girls on it without stealing the spotlight from Chris. And it just shows that if you know how to do it right, you can have several subplots with several characters while still keeping it a season of just one main character. When you compare it to other remakes, they definitely don't change a lot of the story. They do add their own twists, but a significant amount of the plot still remains the same as in the original. But I still love this remake because of the actors. It's just, again, so natural, and it again doesn't feel like I'm watching a TV show. It just feels like I'm watching a group of friends hang out. Also, this remake made the girls and the guys just one big group of friends, which again is just a refreshing addition to like the already familiar story. Again, I'm not dissing the original. I like how they had separate groups in the original, but just like I'm comparing and analyzing, okay? They did include some original scenes, like when Eleonora actually finally was the one who told Eduardo about what happened. Even though I didn't understand why Eduardo reacted that way. I mean, I kind of understand because he was like hurt that he wasn't there for her. And I mean, they didn't need him walking away for like the hiatus and the drama. But I like how she was the one who told him about it and showed him the text. But what I want to focus on for this remake is the visual aspect of it. I mean, listen, even though the Dutch Skam will always carry the throne for like the most aesthetic remake, but the cinematography of the Italian remake is completely different from the Dutch one. Dutch Skam is like Tumblr cinematography, like it's an art hoe level. Like I can just imagine every single scene from the Dutch Skam on like Tumblr in black and white with like captions. But the Italian one, on the other hand, I don't know, it feels like a mature, like just adult film, you know? Oh no. Okay, let me rephrase that. What I want to say is that the Italian remake is more like an artistic movie made by adults who have been in this business for a long time. But there was a lot of play with the background music. Like the background music would play and then it would just immediately shut off when Eduardo appears on the screen, because it kind of reflects how the whole world stops for Eleonora when she sees Eduardo. They really like enjoy the experiments of mixing characters' emotions and the background music. Also in the last episode they showed all the scenes of like monumental moments, you know, for their relationship, like where they first kiss or fought or met or something like that. That kind of sounds like something an obsessive girlfriend would do. Like just take a picture of all of those places and like put it in a collage next to like a piece of her boyfriend's hair and like some teeth or something like that. Like very Joe from You vibes, you know? But I have to mention this scene. It's a scene of the first party. I think it's like maybe episode 3 or 4. That party scene was filmed in one shot and it's like a 6-minute scene. And that scene kind of proves just the professionalism of both the camera crew and the actors. I don't know, I just have a lot of appreciation for one-shot scenes, so I just have to point it out. Like it's 6 minutes, you know? They haven't made a mistake in 6 minutes. I can't even finish one sentence without making a mistake. I almost made a mistake, right? See? I made a mistake. Also, Eduardo was a really good character. He put some thought into his actions and you can just really see it that he's listening to everything and he's actually processing it in his mind, and he just wants to change and he wants to be a better person. And the dialogues also reflected everyday speech, because in a lot of movies and especially American TV shows, they can get carried away with their writing and just make these deep, meaningful speeches that are so unrealistic and only happen in TV shows because they were pre-written. And I like that even though this remake was very dramatic at times, they still remained realistic in terms of lines. It's always better to have realistic sentences because that way the viewers can relate to the characters, because they can imagine themselves actually saying those words in real life. Because real life is just not like, no one talks in Rupi Kaur poems, you know? That's what I'm trying to say. It's a really good remake and I appreciate the cinematography, but when it comes to the story itself, it was good, but it didn't like sweep me off my feet. But a good story compared with incredible cinematography equals in a good / very good remake. So the French remake was actually similar to me to the Italian one from like that cinematography perspective. It also felt like an artistic approach to Isaac's story with all that dramatic like movement and dramatic scenes. I'm especially talking about the running scene by the end of the season. And the French, they really like drama. I mean, like this 3rd season is like Isaac's season but more dramatic and like artistic. Yeah, that's like the best way to describe it. And I have to say, I kind of liked how they showed a different reaction from Jan to Lucas coming out, because it is important to see different outcomes to a certain situation, because even the worst scenario shouldn't stop you from being your true self and feeling happy in your own skin. I mean, at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is your own, and you're not going to be able to have the best opinion you can have of yourself until you come clean to everyone about who you are. Because by Lucas coming out to his best friend, he kind of also simultaneously came out to himself, because that was also his way of just admitting to himself that he's gay, you know? does this make sense or does it just sound good in my head? That's the question. And I gotta say, I really appreciated like the streak of humor they had, because Basile and Arthur are just hilariously stupid. So like the laughing is just a good break between like all the crying. I mean, there wasn't honestly any element I can point out like this is what I didn't like, but I'm so glad that the French finally showed us what they are capable of, because I really enjoy French cinema and I was so disappointed when I saw those first 2 seasons. So I'm just so glad that they finally showed us their skills and their just creativity with this season. Okay, I also forgot to mention the scene when Lucille was giving Lucas advices what to do for Elliot when he's feeling down. I really like how they added that scene and how understanding and just responsible both Lucas and Lucille are. I mean, Lucille for educating Lucas and Lucas for actually wanting to learn. And I love how they edited it with her speech over the montage of Lucas following her advices. It was so good. And this scene is also one of those examples, maybe even the best example of just how much care they put into the cinematography of this season. Now when it comes to season 4, okay, I gotta admit I did start watching season 4 with kind of already formed opinion on the girl group. So honestly, I wasn't really excited to be watching another season with them because I didn't like 3 out of 5 members of the group. And now after finishing this season, I only like 1 out of 5. Iman. It's just all of the girls have little to absolutely no character development. Emma, let me not even talk about Emma. For some reason I have problems with Emma's character, like starting with Megan, now Emma. As I already said, season 1 is supposed to focus on Emma's growth, whatever, on her growth and her trying to just find herself, realizing that she needs to be independent. She shouldn't depend so much on guys and she shouldn't depend so much on her boyfriend. That's why she broke up with him, because she wants to find who she is. And now it's season 4 and every Emma's line is about guys. They only need Emma to like make faces in the background, you know, that's the only use of her in this season. Every time she's on screen she does this face like. They started season 4 really strong, but it kind of felt like, because they are continuing the show, they will have 5th and 6th season. It kind of felt like they made that decision while they were filming maybe episode 5 of season 4, and so they completely disregarded the rest of season 4 because they couldn't wait to jump onto the next season. And then they kind of remembered, oh shit, we're actually filming season 4 now. Quick, but there everyone is expecting originality from us. Okay, let's make a difference. So Noura kissed Yusuf. Quick, what can we do about this? Oh, I know, let's make Manon date Sofiane even though he likes Iman and is very clear about his feelings. Okay, great, enough changes. Let's move on to season 5. I mean, these girls are just a great example of just school best friends. Just a group of people who met in school and are only friends because they go to school together and because they spend so much time in school together, but don't really know anything about each other, but because they spend so much time in school together, they think they are best friends. If I put myself into the other girls' shoes when they realized what had happened, I would have never treated someone I consider my friend like they treated Iman, and not even let them explain why they did what they did. So that's why I hate the rest of the girls and I'm on Iman's side. It seems like they put all of their effort into the guy group. I really like the guy group. That's why I will be continuing and watching the season 5, because it's about Arthur and just the better group out of the 2 of them. I like how they called out big companies that use diversity for respect from their audience and basically just exploit diversity for views and likes, because that actually happens so much in the media, but no one seems to talk about it. And honestly, I would have preferred for that to be a bigger topic than the story with Manon. And this whole season was an eye-opener to Iman. She just realized that she can't expect from everyone to read her mind. She needs to share her feelings with people. So you just need to face your feelings, and you also need to share them with others, and you can't keep everything to yourself, because that can just lead to a lot of unnecessary drama that will take out the whole space of your season, you know, instead of just making the season of you being happy with Sofiane. And also, I gotta say that I did like Iman's talk with Ingrid, and Ingrid's character is sadly a very good representation of an embarrassingly high percentage of people in today's world. And I like how those people were called out by Ingrid's character, and how Iman just shared her feelings and just said how she feels about those comments and how those comments affect her. So I think I liked the season more than I thought I did. So it was a really good season. They talked about important topics, but they just got lost in the drama, so you kind of had to dig for them. Because at one point they had like 5 subplots happening at the same time and none of them were even close to being resolved. I've been talking too much. The point is, I liked it. I just don't like the girls' characters. Except for Iman. That's it.
My villa?
Okay. So I purposely left the German remake for last because last time I said a lot of bad things and now I have 3 new seasons to talk about. Oh my god, will this video ever end? So basically, long story short, I need to make an apology video. Before I even start with anything, first of all, Mia is so pretty. Oh my god, her skin is so clear. Also Alex, he looks like he smells good. Let's start with Alex. So last time I called him a simulation with no emotions, but in fact he ended up being more emotional than I ever thought he was capable of. I did expect him, like when Mia comes into his life, to soften up, you know, and harden up in some other places. And guess what? He did both. But no, in all seriousness, I do appreciate that they touched up on the anxiety topic and just showed that side of Alex. You know, just showed him as a guy who just hides behind that simulation mask. And just that 5-minute scene shed a completely new light on the character. Both me and Alex went through what you would call character development, and he's not a robot anymore, and I like him. And also I really appreciate them taking a different approach to the assault scene, because this is something that sadly a lot of girls experience on a daily basis. But I do have to admit that I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Mia's character. First of all, because her skin is so clear. Like what's that? How is that possible? But she can be so annoying at times, but I understand her because I think I would react the same way in those situations as her, and that's why she's so annoying, because she's me. I mean, she messes up a lot, but she doesn't learn from her mistakes, and somehow I have a feeling that she always thinks she just knows the best. I don't know, Alex just showed her so many times how much he trusts her, and then she goes to the hospital to see that guy even though Alex told her not to go, which honestly, literally I would do the same thing. So I don't know why I'm so mad. But I mean, she automatically trusted the stranger. Why? Because he was the guy in the hospital. So what, he has to be the one telling the truth? I mean, the scene when Alex told her, if you knew what he did to me, you wouldn't want to push me down the stairs. It was something like that. To me, that scene explained everything. But to her, just in one ear and out the other. You don't have to know every single detail about someone's past. Am I the only one who understands that? Like, stop interfering so much. Again, I understand her in a way, but she already got so many red flags from the guy. And the thing that bothered me the most is not their date at the hospital, it's just that she looked like she didn't trust Alex at all. And also about their breakup in season 4. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna talk about that later, because I'm really done with Alex and Mia. I've been talking too much about them. So I forgot to talk about the breakup, so we're back to this. Basically, I like it, but I also like hate it. Like, I like it and hate it at the same time, you know? And I also hate that I like it. Listen, the breakup is realistic, but the timing is so off. Like, it honestly makes it look like they just wanted Mia to have a thing with a girl. But also, I don't know, I also like the breakup because I get it, you know, they just wanted different things. Also, they met in high school. Like, what are the odds of them living happily ever after? And also, Mia didn't look like she knew what she wanted since day one and seemed very unhappy, so this breakup was long needed for her. But what she needs to do now is just chill out for a second and be alone to figure out what makes her so unhappy and what she wants. I mean, everyone should put themselves first after all, and I like that she's thinking of herself, but just this breakup would make a lot more sense if it happened earlier in the season. I mean, they were building their relationship for 3 seasons, and now suddenly, here comes a new girl. I guess they didn't break up because of her, but still, from what I've seen, I think Mia needs to be alone now and get her life together. Because again, if they made them break up just so they can introduce a lesbian couple, that's just not good story writing. Also, they worked so hard on Alex's character development and he just didn't deserve it, honestly. I mean, their breakup was an ending them as a couple needed, but it was not an ending that Alex deserved. Season 3. Again, I relate to Mateo's character a lot because he's just so passive, especially at the beginning of his season. Like, there's a party going on and he goes to an empty room to just kind of charge his batteries, and I completely understand that just being surrounded by people drains my energy completely. So I did relate to his character and I identified with his character a lot, so maybe that's why I like this season. The scene where Mateo didn't have the bus ticket, so they just ran away, that's maybe one of my favorite scenes in the whole season. I could imagine something happening like that in real life. I mean, I can't imagine it happening to me because I'm a coward and I always buy the bus ticket, but I could just see it happen in real life. And just the whole process of them getting together was just so, again, natural. It wasn't fast, it wasn't forced, it wasn't slow, it wasn't even slow. It was just, it went at a very normal pace. Nothing was over exaggerated, nothing was too dramatic. The whole team behind this remake seems like they are not trying to wow the audience. They're just retelling the story in their own way. They're just trying to tell the original story in the way that they experienced it. It has the same energy as the Dutch Skam, but without those aesthetic cinematic shots. Just casually cool and better than everyone else. And I especially like the Q&A between Hans and Matteo. Hans is such an underrated character. He has so much wisdom in him. In that scene, that like Q&A scene, Hans maybe had like 5 sentences in total, but those 5 sentences were maybe even the most important lines in the whole season. And I loved the scene when they were planning revenge, like against school, for just basically outing David. That scene just shows Matteo's character development. It just shows that he actually listened to Hans, he actually thought about it, he educated himself on the topic. But basically Matteo said, like, yeah, all those ideas are good, they sound good, but they never asked if David actually wants them. They never asked him, does he even want any action to be taken? And it's so true, and it's something that often happens because people get really heated and just so ready to support a certain person, but they kind of forget about whether or not that person feels comfortable with that action. Most of the time they're just ready to do anything, and they want to do at least something just to show that they support that person, and in their mind help them that those same supporters forget about the most important thing, which are the feelings of that person they are supporting. Because sometimes people just don't like attention, and if they don't know what's coming, then that can make them even more uncomfortable than they already are. So those are my opinions on season 3. Just I can't believe there was one time when I didn't like the German remake. Also, like, this is just a side note, I swear German Skam is sponsored by Billie Eilish. Like, they literally use a Billie Eilish song in every other scene. Do you see that? Literally the sun is setting. That's how long I've been filming this video. 5 hours. I have been filming this video for 5 hours. I'm losing my mind. Season 4 of German Skam. I almost tried to pronounce it. This season was more of actually Amira's season than maybe even the original, because I mean, let's face it, season 4 of the original was just a joint season between Nura and Amira, or Sana. All of the characters are morphing into one in my head. I just really like that for once we got an open Sana that was so just straightforward, that shared her feelings with her friends for once instead of just keeping everything for herself. And honestly, as painful as the scenes with Muhammad were, I just at least like that she talked to him and just wasn't holding this conflict all inside of her. She at least shared it with him. And I think in those conversations we can really see how much this is tearing her apart, and we can see how hurt she is, but we can also see how hurt Muhammad is, because she's choosing something that's not important to him. So he's trying to understand why did she choose that over him. But just watching all of her actions, I could just feel that inner conflict I'm talking about. I could just feel that she's under a lot of pressure and that she's just taking it out on her friends, you know, all that anger she has in her. And that's why her behavior with Kiki at that party was understandable to an extent, because you know what's going on inside her head. That's why I love this whole concept of the whole season being about only one character, because you kind of get an explanation for all of their actions and you understand them more, you know. And I mean, even though Kiki didn't deserve it, I don't blame Amira at all, because that's how people act in real life. I mean, in that moment she's just sick of everything. She's not thinking of the consequences, she's not thinking of other person's feelings, and as much as in the wrong she was, I don't hate that it happened that way, because again, it's very realistic. Oh my god, it's become funny how many times I've said that word. And I honestly love the whole talk between Amira and Kiki, where Amira talked about her life and under how much pressure she is and how everyone has those expectations, unrealistic expectations of her. And that whole talk just proves everything we analyzed and suspected from her behavior in the past episodes. So in conclusion, I was so wrong about the German remake, and I would just like to publicly apologize to the whole team. I mean, I myself had character development. I went from not liking the first season to liking the second season to loving the third season, and then like being in love with the fourth season. The sun is setting and so is my mood. So in the end, I'm not gonna tell you which remake is the superior one, because I don't think the superior remake exists. Because as I said, I like all of them, but I like them for different reasons. I'm gonna go now and try to get my vocal cords back. I am so sorry this video is so long.